Okay, this is going to be a weekly recap from the 17th to the 21st. My voice is almost completely back. I'm still a little sick. I still feel stuff in my throat, but it's not going to be as bad as I think it was last week. And yeah, let's just go ahead and go over it. But before I really begin, unfortunately, to summarize this week, my first trade of the week, I had an issue here. And I've made a bunch of updates to my trading platform so I can prevent an issue like this. But what happened with this first trade, and as you can see here, was a $75 loss. Unfortunately, I accidentally went 10 times the size that I was interested in. Instead of trading with a $10 risk level, I was basically trading a $100 risk level. And then it happened to be a setup that did not work out. So that was pretty bad, and I think to really summarize it, to really keep me going, at least with a better mood, if I get rid of a zero and I traded the 1,000 shares I was actually interested in instead of 10,000, it would have been a profitable week. It would have been a lot better. And on top of that, even though I had some few things that did not really go in favor, like for example here was a partial fill. I wanted to get 50 shares here. Here I didn't trade the right amount of size. Should have traded 50 shares. You know, with all those things going into consideration. And then in this one I should have, you know, if I knew the appropriate amount of size in this trade right here, actually, I would have done a sell at like 472-ish. Excuse me. This week would have been pretty nice, but yeah, even, you know, with all of those things into consideration, the one big thing is that I accidentally traded way too much size there on accident. And again, I've made, you know, a few adjustments to my trading platform, so I no longer have an issue like that anymore. Let's go ahead and go over the setups. I think it's still a step in the right direction if I ended up having a red day just because of something dumb like that. And you know, it's been a very long time since I even had a loss anywhere near this big. This one was half the loss that I had here, and that was a while ago, back in October. And that was another week where I traded large size on a setup that didn't play out. I really haven't had a red week as big as this one, and I don't regret it, you know, again, only because I just traded accidentally 10x my size. It's not like I had a whole bunch of bad trades that I did horribly or something like that. I just went too sized on this one, just a little too much size. Again, that's about it, just to summarize it. But let's go ahead and go over all the setups, since you know it wasn't really that bad in terms of trading setups. Let's look at LWUB for the 18th, and this was an ugly morning panic bounce play. Right here was the 18th on a significant red day. As you can see, it probably wasn't an ideal setup, and I do feel like that was an issue that I was having. I just wasn't trading really ideal setups. But let's go ahead and look at this one, and we'll zoom in a bit more. I was in at 942, 1988, so 942 was right here, 1988, so right about here, the top of this right here. I probably had a thought that maybe, you know, I had a downtrend. It's holding the support level. It's starting to make an uptrend. Let me get in. Let's see if it gets towards VWAP at 20. And then, you know, if it can get above VWAP and continue on forward. But as you can see, this thing broke under this little support level that it had right here. And it did get even lower. It got to the 17. So my exit was 950. I held this one for 7 minutes. And I got out at 1912. Let's look at 1912 for 950. Right here is when I got out. Yeah, unfortunately I got out right when it broke this level right here. I was out ultimately. Just didn't really work out. Pretty bad setup. I remember I tried a whole bunch of times to sell for a profit, and my order was just not getting executed, despite the fact that there were plenty of orders going around at the same price that I had my order at. I just was not able to get my shares out. Great lesson from this trade here. What I learned is that if I end up in the same situation where I'm accidentally 10x my size on the setup, especially this one that wasn't really too ideal, what I should do is immediately size down, even if it means I'm going to take a loss. It would have been easy for me to sell at like 19.7 or even 19.8, and I would have taken a much smaller loss, and then I would have cut it right here when it did break this level, and that would have ended up me maybe losing, sure, because I had to size out immediately for a loss and then cut the trade here, but I would have saved in terms of how much I would have lost. Let's just say, for example, I sold at 19.5. That would have been a lot better. Still red, but you know, that's something I can totally do in the future, which I hope doesn't happen anytime soon, if ever. Although it probably will at some point. I think in the future I'll be more prepared. And again, it's just unfortunate that, you know, I did pick a crappy setup to accidentally 10x my size. I should probably focus on not even trading those ugly setups in the first place, especially with the stock that I just haven't liked before, LWUV being a bit of a cursed stock. But hey, that's a really good lesson there, and yeah, that's all I can do is just learn from it. Let's look at NLST. This one is the second part of the issues I had with the platform. I thought I had I wonder if I still have a screenshot. I do have it. Yeah, the issue was with NLST is that, you know, I bought here, but then I thought I bought here as well, but as you can see it says sell. Ultimately I just thought I had 400 shares when I only had 200, but you know, it did cut off the amount of money I thought I was gonna make, but yeah, that's totally fine there too. A lot of good lessons learned, and you know, they shouldn't be an issue, or at least it's gonna be less likely that it's gonna happen. But let's look at NLST for a morning panic bounce play gap down. NLST for the 19th. Yeah, you can see it's been trading this little range here and it had this gap down, even broke under this level. Super nice. And this was the 19th right here. Let's go ahead and highlight this section. At least right now, I've said this plenty of times, morning panic balance plays that have a gap down, they're the best right now. They're the most profitable. What happens in a lot of cases is that they start to downtrend, right? Or maybe they just hold a certain level immediately, and then immediately starts a nice reversal, and they seem to do the best. Let's go ahead and go over NLST, the first one. Ideally, this is one where I sized up, I believe, right here, and I sized up here, then I sized it up one more time here, and then I would have sold this thing for like a really nice day. It would have been like sub $100 day, but again, the order was cut in two pieces on accident because I sold thinking I was buying more shares. So let's just go over it since it was divided. 933, I was in at 466. 933 was a candle right here. 466, pretty good entry. I thought there was a level 2 reversal, and I mean, it did reverse, right? It did, you know, look like it was trying to reverse here, but it broke under the level, and you know, I thought I wasn't able to get out, so I was just planning to size in right here when it looked like it was trying to do a level 2 reversal here. Normally I don't, you know, if it's a morning panic bounce play, I don't try at a lower level, and I just try my best to just cut it and then watch it later. But because it was a gap down, it pretty much will turn around at some point in most cases. Maybe there is a chance it'll just keep downtrending the whole day after a gap down, but all of the gap down morning panic bounce plays that I've seen that fit the criteria that I'm interested in reverse at some point. Although when I was sized in right here, I was going to cut it ultimately because then I thought it could be something else. It did reverse there. Again, my entry for the first section, the first trade here, I was long right here at 466, 933. I sold 935, 459, almost 460. Right here, 460. And again, I thought I was trying to get in more shares, 100 more shares in the 450s, but it ended up being that I sold my shares right here at 460. In theory, what my goal was is to be long here. It failed, it broke under, level 2 reversal, one more 100 shares in the 450s, and then it downtrends again. Excuse me, and then I get in 200 shares right here. If it were to have broken this level, I would have gotten out. But it did do a nice reversal, and I did do some sales, which I'll go over in the second trade. But yeah, it was just kind of cut up because I thought I was getting more shares when I ended up selling, closing this initial position, making that a separate trade. Let's go over the second part of NLST. I was long at 9:37 a.m., 436. 9:37, 436. Right here was my entry at 937. Very happy. Again, a level 2 reversal here. This one ended up playing out, but again, I'm starting fresh with 200 shares. I thought I was at this point 400 shares in. I got out 939, the entire position at 460. 939, 460. Right here, I thought I had 400 shares, and my idea was to sell 200 shares here just to play it safe, and then the other 200 shares to hold and see how it will do around VWAP. And then when I got to the 480s, which was above VWAP, I was trying to sell my shares, but then it turned out that's when I figured out that I accidentally already sold everything in the 460 level because of the fact that I only had 200 shares when I thought I had 400 shares. Just to go over it one more time, 100 shares here. I placed the order to buy 100 shares at 460 right here when it was in the 450s at 935. Uptrending, 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 and then I got executed at 460, and I thought, oh, that's kind of lame. I was trying to get 100 more shares in the 450s, but what ended up being was that I placed a sell order with a limit at 460. So when I got to 460, I got out. That was one trade, and then I thought I had two more 100 shares here, but this ended up being 200 shares, not 400 shares again, because I sold right here, and I did sell at 460. And then I tried selling in the 480s, and that was to go over that. Again, I had an issue in that I oversized 10x my size, and then on the second one right here, I sold instead of buying more shares. But I think I will be less likely again going to have those issues this week. I won't be able to trade Monday, but I will trade the rest of the weekend, God willing. Let's look at DPLS, but let me just get some water first and I'll be back. Alright, I am back. Let's go over DPLS, which was an imperfect morning panic balance play. Not a big surprise. This setup did not play out. Let's look at DPLS for the 20th. 20th is right here. I mean, it had a little uptrend from this 37 level to 51, but yeah, pretty crappy looking daily chart. But let's go ahead and highlight it. This was it right here. It looks like it did reverse eventually. It just took a very long time for it to do something like that. But yeah, let's look at this. And I was in at 943, 458. 943, 458 right here. 458, thinking, okay, morning panic bounce play kind of failed here, but I think it's in at this point. And yeah, let's just be in right here. Looks like it might do it. The only thing really in favor for this is that it had a distance from VWAP, which was considerable, 45, almost 46 to 48, so it wasn't horrible, but crappy daily, excuse me, crappy daily chart. It wasn't even down that much on the day. I think it was down like 6%. It just wasn't, ideal. And of course, with all those things in mind, not a big surprise. This setup did not play out, and it did break under this level here at 45. And I did sell at 945.45. Right here, I sold at 45. Right here. At least I did the right thing. I remembered what happened. I was in the setup. It wasn't looking too good, and then a big million share. I'm not sure how many millions, but at least 1 million share seller at the ask showed up. It just looked horrible, absolutely horrible for that reason. And then when it got to this 45 level, I cut it. When I risk the day low, I always cut it before it actually breaks it. There's always a chance that it looks like it's going to break the day low, and it doesn't. It holds the day low in the uptrends, but that's the way I do it. I cut it here at 45. It prevented me from selling at 43 by following my rules right here and not trying to bag hold it or hesitate. I lost again just $8 from that trade, $450 position, but it just wasn't an ideal setup. I probably should have just stayed away from it. I was a bit desperate for morning panic balance plays, and then we did get one eventually here the same day on the listed stock, which was pretty cool. Let's look at BBIG for the 20th. This one was a lot better, even a better daily chart right here, trading it right here. Not a very bad day at all to consider a morning panic balance play, even on a listed stock. Let's highlight from here. Very clean looking. I was in 949, 389. right here, 949, 389 was my entry right here. The issue with this one is that I was trying to get 50 shares. If I had it at 390 my order instead of 389, I probably would have been executed all 50 shares, but it was a partial fill, which really sucked. But you know, if I would have gotten my 50 shares, that would have been pretty nice, and also a really good percent gain as well. But you know, that's fine. I learned from it. I can try to be quicker, maybe get in at 392, not the best ideal price, but at least be in the setup, or change my order to 390 and then get executed. You know, that's stuff I can get better with more experience, God willing. But you know, this one ended up working out. I sold at 953, 408. 953 right here was this candle, 408. Pretty nice sell above VWAP too, especially with my entry at this point. I hope I can do something like this again and be able to, you know, be full sized according to my dollar risk level. That would be a very nice thing. And something I did do that I want to go over. Let me see if I can find a trade I took. This has been a thing I've been doing recently, is trading according to a trend line. I was in it right here, and basically my idea was to get out when it breaks the trend line. And when my throat clears up too. And I ended up selling at this little wick right here. Why did I sell at the wick if I was going according to the trend line? Because it got a bit exponential. You can see the big volume candle right here. It got a bit exponential, just shot up like crazy, and I thought, alright, this might be like a max euphoria thing because of the way it just shot up like that. Let me go ahead and take a sell there. It did hold for a few minutes, but then, as you can see, it broke under the trend line at this point right here. So I'm very happy with the way I traded that one. I just wish, you know, I had more shares, but definitely something that I've been trying to develop, selling when the trend line breaks, because I think it will help me sell at a much better price and be more profitable and hold more shares, you know, at a higher price on average. That's something I'm going to keep developing and working on. But that was a very good trade there, a very good attempt. Unfortunately, didn't get the size filled, but that's totally fine. Great lesson there overall. Next time, I hope I can be fully sized in. And let me clear out my throat, and we got 3 more trades to go over. Alright, let's look at LKNCY, and I had 2 trades, 2 different setups on the same day. Morning panic bounce play, morning panic bounce play, lower low. Let's look at LKNCY for the 21st. Has a little bit of a nice run. I'm not the best daily chart, but it could be much worse. Again, the 21st was right here, and it did have this uptrend from the 8s to the 12s. Let's look at the 21st, which is right here. Basically the big red day, the down day after the previous one. You know, after it had this nice run up. I was in 947, 1016. 947, 1016. Was it really 1016? I felt like it was. Yeah, okay, it was 1016 at 947. Right here was my entry, and if you go back to the day that I traded this to see the video I made that day, I was trying to get in the 1013s and 14s. I just wasn't able to get entered at that price, so I got in at 1016, and I didn't trade the right size for this. As you can see, my dollar risk, you know, was ultimately $1. I should have went 50 shares. Instead, I went 9 shares. I wanted to be in 10 shares, but because I got in at 1016 instead of like the 1013, 1014 level, I wanted more. I just put 9 shares. Not a big deal, but you know, I should have been in 50 shares or maybe 40 shares again, because I wasn't able to get in at the price I wanted in theory, and I just wanted to make up for it just a little bit. But again, I should have been right here, 50 shares. It would have been slightly more profitable, but at least I was, you know, trading according to my dollar risk level. This setup did not really play out that well. I sold at 951, ultimately at 1022. I guess it averages at that price, 951. Right here, 1022. That was my sell. It didn't get to VWAP. It didn't look that nice. Just probably sold for that reason. Just wasn't looking too nice, but it did offer something. You know, I was in right here and I sold right here. I wanted more, obviously. I wanted it to get to VWAP. It didn't do it here. Totally fine. And let's look at the second part. I got in at 10 o'clock, 10:04:35, so 10:04. Morning panic bounce play, low because it's lower than this level. And I was in at 10 o'clock right here at 10:04:35 right here. And I did sell in 2 pieces. It just didn't work out. As you can see, it kind of dried up. And I was in it though because I was liking how I was holding this $10 level. It did break it briefly. It never really got much lower than here, but you know, it did make the move towards VWAP, but VWAP at this point was 10.26, and by the time it finally got to it, right, it downtrended a lot. This setup did just not. This setup did just. This setup did not really play out. It just didn't play out. I got out all of it by 10:12. Small difference. 10:04:8, 10:12. Right here. 10:12, 10:04:8. So right about here, basically, was my sell. What happened was that it looked like it was starting to work, and then it didn't, and then it looked like it was starting to work again, and then it failed again. Man, I hope my voice is better next week. I just didn't like how it just kept failing and looking ugly, and I got out for that reason, and it did downtrend. I just didn't like the price action. It looked like it was going to go down, or at least not uptrend anytime soon the way I wanted. Nice sell there ultimately. That was a good attempt. Let's go over the last trade, RETO. Panic dip buy trend break. This one did not play out. It kind of worked, but not really the way I was interested in it. Let's look at RETO for the 21st. Right here, yeah, first big red day, run up. Not a bad day to consider a reversal setup, like a panic dip buy. Not a bad day at all. I was in 150. Okay, so this was later in the afternoon at 190. So let's zoom in a bit more. Right here, 190. Right here was my entry, basically a reversal if I can do it. Let me see if I can do it. A trend line. Probably from here. And you can probably extend it further back and not do that. Yeah, give or take right here, and you can see that's why I got in at 150 right here at 190, just because it broke the level. You know, it was a reversal. I saw the reversal happening here, but I just wanted it to break the trend line first, and I was in at 190. And what happened was that I just played it by the trend line and then broke it. It just didn't follow it nicely, but I got out at 153, 18469. Basically 185 right here at 953. I was out right here because I had a little trend line going from this right here corner to the corner of that uptrending candle, so give or take like right there. And what happened was that, let me see if I can get rid of this. I was in it again right here at 190. You know, I drew a trend line from this candle that's uptrending to this one, and when it broke it right here, I got out for that reason. It did follow the trend line a little bit, but it wasn't clean the way it followed it. It did get to 199, so I could have sold in theory for a profit if I didn't chicken out, but I will always chicken out because it could have broken this trend line right here, then broken the day low, which was just 4 pennies away, and then it could have went to the 170s that quickly. I will always stick to my plan. It just didn't follow the trend line here. It was kind of ugly, so it led me to believe that, compared to BBIG, it just isn't that nice. And then, again, it did follow it, but not perfectly. And then it, kind of came back a little bit of a double bottom setup from here, but just wasn't looking that clean. And it did uptrend again, but I left it alone, and it didn't, do much more. I never got to VWAP, which would have been super ideal, but that's totally fine. And it did downtrend ultimately. It really sucked in terms of a week, because I did, again, just oversized, ridiculously crazy on this one on accident. Again, best case scenario, only 1,000 shares, or not even have traded it because of how ugly it was. And then here I would have, had 50 shares. Here I would have had 50 shares, or I guess 40, because I was being petty on the sizing. And then on this one right here with NLST, I would have traded this one appropriately. I would have had a better sell, because I didn't sell everything, so I would have sold at maybe 472, something like that. I have a lot of potential towards the upside. Just really sucked like the week, unfortunately, but you know what, that's totally fine. I'm not going anywhere, God willing. I'll just keep going with the day trading thing. Again, just kind of had like a week screwed up because I accidentally oversized way too much. In fact, if we put just 1,000 shares here, the stats are actually nice. Average dollar gain compared to average dollar loss, average percent gain being better than my average percent loss, although I don't like it, this being in the 2% level. But still, a lot of things I could have done, differently, but I think I learned from it greatly. And yeah, that's all I got. Hopefully next week I'll be able to trade, and my voice sounds better too. That's all I have for this week. Again, just kind of thrown off by this 10x size trade, but you know what, that's totally fine. I think every trader out there has had at least one fat figure mistake before, all of the successful ones, and I'm no different from that. Overall, just doing better, but clearly need to find a lot of things to get better at. I have a long way to go, but at least I have a way to go. That's all I have for this week.